Wake up, you ain't heard the news. Welcome to the Fast Break Sports Hour, the Tuesday edition, August 21st, 2018. And I want to make a slight correction. Yesterday, which was Monday, the 20th, I said it was the 19th. Now, I've edited my description and I fixed the date, but I can't go back and fix the date that I had spoken of. I said it was the 19th. And no, you weren't hearing things. Yesterday was the 20th. Now I'm back into the present and not in the past. It is the 21st, Tuesday, here to give y'all an update on baseball news and a little bit of football news. And let's get right into it, into the baseball news, into the LA Dodgers, into the St. Louis Cardinals. Game one was yesterday, and it was a pretty good game. It looked like the Cardinals were just going to shut down the LA Dodgers. They got up 3-0 up until the fifth, sixth inning, and the Dodgers were slowly able to come back, tie the game, with timely hitting, and again, tied the game 3-3, which gave them the opportunity in the ninth inning to bring back good old Kenley Jansen. Yes, he is back. Thankfully, he is back and healthy. Doctors say everything's a go. He can push through like full force. And he proceeded to give up back-to-back home runs to give the Cardinals a 5-3 lead. And that was that. He was able to shut down 3 out of the next 4 batters and got out of the inning. The Dodgers weren't able to compile a comeback, and they lost the first game 1-0. But the bigger news here, yes, understood, Kenley Jansen has lost another game for the Dodgers. He is now the 7th reliever, different reliever, that has lost a game in the last 10 for the LA Dodgers. That is unheard of. That is unprecedented, and that just shows you how close these games are and how big they are and how much they matter in the ninth and towards the end of games, because they did lose a couple of these games in extra innings. They actually won a game in extra innings last week as well. But these games are very tight, and the relief pitching is going to come up big for whatever team is able to get through these big games. For the LA Dodgers, again, let's go back to Kenley Jansen. So great to have him back. And though he gave up 2 home runs, it was a good sight to see, not just because obviously he was dealing with a heart issue and it's the second time he ran through this, and it's the second time it's happened after going to Colorado. So you have to ask, is it has something to do with the altitude in Colorado that's causing this? He was asked previously if that's going to deter him from wanting to go back, and he says, no, I'm not going to let none of that happen. I'm not going to let that enter my head. I will be back in Colorado. I will be pitching, and that's not going to be an issue. Also asked if he was worried about it and going further into the season with the LA Dodgers, and what his thoughts were on that. And he said, you know what? And I'm paraphrasing here. I'm here for the team. I'm here to go all out. I'm here to do what I can to help this team get through and win a championship. And whatever my heart decides to do, it will do what it's going to decide to do. I can't control that. I'm not worried about it. And I'm here for the team. So, man, those words are big, because you think about it, that's when do you see a player that's just going to put everything out on the line for his team? And what or how will the Dodgers respond to this kind of message that the closer, I believe he's one of their leaders, are they all going to say, you know what, let's all pull through, let's all gather around, and let's get through the end of the season like we should? With the talent they have, they shouldn't be losing 7 out of 10. And that's they're going through issues right now. Back to Kenley Jansen. I think it was a good learning experience for him to come back out there. He threw over 20 pitches. He was out for close to 2 weeks. And it was very helpful, even though he gave up 2 home runs and he was able to finish off the last 3 of the 4 batters that he faced. I think it was very, very important that he got back into the swing of things and, slowly get back into it. And I think it's a big factor going on here into these next games, because a lot of these games are going to be nail biters. They're all going to be decided towards the end of the game. So now they got Kenley Jansen back in full effect. It might take a little bit of time to get that rhythm going, but it's better to have it now rather than later or not at all. So again, you have to look at those comments that he made and say, you know what, these players have to look at what's important, and if he's willing to put his livelihood on the line and say, you know what, it's all about the team. I think they all got to just rally around that and finish the season strong. But you got to give it up to the Cardinals. Man, they're continuing their torrid pace. They've won 18 out of 24 now, and they are the hottest team in the National League. Them and the Colorado Rockies. And game 2 tonight, we'll see how the Dodgers respond to that game 1 loss to the Cardinals. And it's not going to get any easier. This 3-game series with the Cardinals, they still got 4 more games in St. Louis in September. So it's going to get tough. Like I mentioned yesterday, these teams that are fighting for that wild card or even the division, they're going to be going at it against each other, and it's going to be well-deserved whoever's able to get out of this group and get into the playoffs. Speaking of the Colorado Rockies, they start their series today. And, man, who are they starting with? Oh, the Padres. Why are the Padres everywhere here in the National League West? If they're not playing the Diamondbacks, now they're playing the Rockies. When are they going to play the Dodgers? Actually, they play the Dodgers this weekend, so I can't say much now. We get our chance at the Padres, but it's about time that we get a cupcake. The Rockies are going to have their cupcakes here Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 3-game series against the Padres. Hopefully the Padres can get one in Colorado. Come on, Padres. You didn't split the Diamondbacks. Give me one against the Rockies. Don't get swept. Do not get swept. We need one. As a Dodger fan, I'm gonna stay biased. I'm keeping it real. The Rockies are the hottest team in that division. The way they're playing, they're looking like they're gonna win this division just by the looks of things. Again, they're half game out of the first place. Diamondbacks still hold the first place lead. It just seems like they're able to hold on every week. They're clinging to that first place spot. You got the Dodgers now that are 2.5 out of the division because of the loss, and 2 full games out of the wild card. Speaking of the wild card, man, yesterday you guys thought it was close. It got closer after one day. So now with the Brewers, they were able to get the victory over the Reds yesterday, 5-2. So with that victory, they are now alone in that first wild card spot by themselves, no tiebreaker. But in the second spot for the wild card, you got 3 teams tied for that second spot. You got the Phillies, you got the Rockies, and the Cardinals. With that victory, they are now tied with those 2 other teams. So you got 3 teams for that last spot. And then the Dodgers, again, they're that team that's not even in right now. They're the outside looking in, 2 games out. So these next 2 games with the Cardinals, they're big for the Dodgers. They cannot get swept by the Cardinals because then they're going to be pushed back 3 or 4 games, not just in the division, but in the wild card. So it's going to be vital. They pull out one of these games, we take it one by one. So I'm not worried about getting 2 games against Cardinals. They have to find a way to get today's game and then go from there into that Padres series. They better sweep the Padres. They have to do that. Too much talent on the team. No more letdowns. You got Kenley coming back, man, and he's the heart and soul now. Literally, he's playing out there with he's putting his heart on the line. That speaks volumes of what type of guy he is and what he's willing to do to help his team out. But we'll see what happens. That game is on ESPN tonight. St. Louis Cardinals at the LA Dodgers. Check it out, man. It was a good game last night. I don't expect anything less. I mean, I hope the Dodgers blow them out, but these are 2 good teams. Cardinals, the hottest team in the National League. What can you say about that? Let's run down some of the games today from in the National League that concern the playoff race. I'm not going to go through every game, but just the teams that are vying for playoff spots. So you got Philadelphia right now, who's tied for that second wild card spot. They're going to be in Washington. And speaking of the Washington Nationals, man, they put a few players on waivers today, and a couple of those players were picked up and traded. But I got some inside, information. I looked it up. I had some information. They told me, man, Bryce Harper got picked up on waivers. So I looked into it. I'm going to give a shout out to Big Zo. Big Zo was like, man, Bryce Harper got picked up. But I looked into it to see which team, because the team is secretive until a deal is done. So the reports say the LA Dodgers were trying to pick up Bryce Harper when he was released, but they weren't able to get anything done before the waiver period. So basically the time expired from between the Dodgers, whatever they were going to send back to the Nationals. If not, you would have seen Bryce Harper in the Dodger blue. Oh my goodness, that would have been incredible. But that didn't happen, so they didn't report none of that. Bryce Harper back to the Nationals because they weren't able to get a deal done before the expiration, but they did complete two other deals. They sent second baseman, hell of a hitter, hell of a player, Daniel Murphy, to the Cubs after obviously they released him to waivers. Cubs picked him up, made a deal for it. And then first baseman Matt Adams, picked up by the Cardinals, completed the trade. So they tried to get rid of those three players, but man, Dodgers weren't able to pull the trigger before the expiration. If not, you would be talking about Bryce Harper, Machado, Justin Turner, Cody Bellinger, Yasiel Puig, Matt Kemp, list goes on. Brian Dozier on a team. It would have been right now. It's a semi All-Star team. Man, that would have been a Hall of Fame team, but they weren't able to get the deal done. It's not going to be reported on ESPN where it says this was the team because they don't do that. But hey, people did some digging and they said the Dodgers were the team that claimed him. So I'm going to go with that, okay? I'm going to go with that. They tried, didn't work out. Oh, well. Bryce Harper back to the Nationals. But Phillies at Washington. Series starts today. Atlanta at Pittsburgh. Atlanta won the first game last night, 1-0. Pitchers duel. Big win for Atlanta after losing 4 in a row to the Rockies. The Chicago Cubs at the Detroit Tigers. What's up, Detroit? They start their series today, interleague play. Cincinnati Reds at Milwaukee, game 2. The Brewers were able to win that game, putting them in the top spot in the wild card. Game 2 is tonight. San Diego at the Rockies. Cupcakes at the Rockies. Series starts tonight. And then I'm not calling them the Los Angeles Angels because, no. They are still the Anaheim or the California Angels. There's only one team in LA. They're not the Los Angeles Angels. No, they are the Anaheim or California Angels to me, or you can just call them the Angels. Okay, we're not calling them the LA Angels. That's bull. That's that bull sugar I'm talking about. There's only one LA team in baseball that matters, and that's the Dodgers. But you have the Angels coming to Arizona. And you know what? Let me put some respect on that. I'm going to call you the LA Angels because I want you guys to beat the Diamondbacks. So if you can get that done for me, you'll be Los Angeles. Win this series against the Diamondbacks, I'll call you Los Angeles Angels. But till then, you're just the Angels. So do me a favor and I'll do you a favor and I'll call you by what you think you are. But you're the Angels going against the Arizona Diamondbacks. Series starts tonight. Man, these games every night. And again, like I said, Cardinals, Dodgers, game 2 tonight. ESPN, check your local listings. It's going to be, man, I think it's 7 p.m. Pacific. Something like that. 10 p.m. Eastern time, whatever. Look it up. You got TV guides, you got the internet, look it up. American League, going to be short. But, man, the Mariners proving me wrong. I said, cut them out of this race. They beat the Astros yesterday in the first game of the series. So now the Astros and the A's, because the A's won last night as well, they are tied again for first place. And now the Mariners are only 3.5 back from the division and the wild card. So Mariners still ain't done, but we'll see what the Astros do in these next 2 games against the Mariners. And then you got Cleveland and Boston, game 2. The Indians were able to beat the Red Sox last night, 5-4. Big game, big win, just for their confidence, because these teams are going to face in the playoffs. Make no bones about it. That's what I'm saying right now. The Indians and the Red Sox will face in that divisional round, and the Indians were able to beat the Red Sox in Boston, 5-4. And then you got Giancarlo Stanton, New York Yankees. He's going back to Miami. They're going to play the Marlins tonight, start that series. And that's what I got for the American League. And that's what I got for baseball. I mean, it's tight. It's incredible. It's something that you got to keep up now every night, because these things are changing, especially when you got 3 teams in the National League tied for that second place wild card finish. Man, it's going to be flip-flopping every night. So it's important. These games are getting big. But at the same time, the good thing about all these teams, if one of your teams is in this race, whether it's the Brewers, whether it's the Cardinals, the Rockies, the Diamondbacks, the Dodgers, the Braves. Man, I'm tripping. Who else? The Phillies. Okay. You're talking about those teams. if you have one of those teams in a race, if you lose 2 games, you're all right because everything is stuck there. But what you don't want is to go 2-8 in these next 10 games because somebody's going to jump out in front. So if you can just stay within the pack and see what happens going into the final month of the season, it's going to be big to see. I didn't mention the Cubs because, again, I think the Cubs are already in. Right now, they're the #1 spot. The closest team to them is 3.5 games out. So I think they're in a pretty good spot. Now, unless they lose, they do what I just mentioned, go 2-8, then they might be back into the pack and fighting for a position just like these other teams. But I think the Cubs are safe. I think they've proven that they've been the most consistent team in the National League. So watch out for the Cubs, see what they're doing. They're the #1 spot. Let's see if they're able to continue this pace they're on. And again, with them picking up Daniel Murphy, that's a big pickup. And that's another team that has star players all around the field. So we'll see what happens there. It's going to be based more so on their pitching and if they're able to withstand that. But their offense is pretty loaded, just kind of like the Dodgers. But the Dodgers have been playing a little bit below sea level. Their sea level, they're supposed to be up here a little bit. They're playing down here. Got to get those guys on the run. But that's all I got to say. Oh, one more side note for baseball. I guess that's not all I got to say. And it's not really a big deal. But former Dodgers pitcher, the guy that lost us the World Series last year, Yu Darvish. Thank you, Chicago, for taking him off our hands. Yu Darvish has been a bust this year. He's been injured. He's officially been shut down by the Chicago Cubs. Elbow issue, tricep issue. He's done for the season. So just a little side note. A starting pitcher, Yu Darvish, picked up by the Cubs at the start of the season. Out for the season now, been shut down. And let's smoothly transition into the NFL. And last night's game, Monday night game, you had the Baltimore Ravens against the Indianapolis Colts. I almost said the Baltimore Colts. And for those of you that have been watching football since, 70s? You guys understand that used to be the Baltimore Colts. And they went to Indianapolis in the middle of the night. And the Ravens came back after they sold the Cleveland Browns. And yes, follow that however you may. It's just that's how football works. Teams decide they can't build a stadium in their hometown, or they feel like they're not going to grow there. They're going to move. It's the owner's discretion. Chargers did it. That still that didn't make sense to me. It still doesn't make sense to move the San Diego Chargers to L.A. just to do it. Now they're playing in a soccer stadium. And then they're going to play in the Rams' new stadium next year. Because the Chargers are a good team. The LA Chargers, to me, and I have high hopes for them this year. Not that I want them to do good, but I'm just keeping it real. I have high hopes for that team with Phillip Rivers, which I will talk about in my power rankings, my next 4, 12-9. I have high hopes for that team. But as long as the Rams are in Los Angeles and doing fairly decent, Los Angeles is going to be a Rams town. You're going to think about the Rams. You're going to think about the Lakers. You're going to think about the Dodgers. You might think about the Clippers, the Angels, if you're able to take this series against the Diamondbacks, before you think about the LA Chargers. Because it just doesn't combine. That's not what. No. They should just stayed in San Diego. To me, they rushed it. They would have got a stadium, man. Now you done hurt all these fans of San Diego. And I know that's a story from a while back, but still, I'm talking about LA and I'm talking about the Chargers. Man, what can you say? But back to Monday night's game, I kind of went off on a tangent talking about these teams moving. Denver Broncos, don't you ever move because I won't go for you, but that's just the way it goes. Baltimore Ravens, Indianapolis Colts. Ravens defense looking pretty solid early on here in the preseason, making Andrew Luck look very pedestrian, very average. But it's okay because what you want is to get Andrew Luck some playing time. Didn't look so good. He went 6 for 13. He threw a pick. But that's that Ravens defense. And all you want, again, from Andrew Luck is to get some playing time, get his feet wet again, have him get comfortable because he's going to be playing against defenses like that. And especially in that division where you got the Jaguars, you got the Titans and the Texans, those are 3 good defenses. So it was a good test to have him out there against the Ravens ones. Just a small little sample size, but Andrew Luck, any little bit counts. Now, speaking of the Ravens, Lamar Jackson, I talked about the rookie quarterbacks yesterday and who's kind of like moving up and down. I still have Josh Rosen #1, And then you look at Baker Mayfield, and I kind of threw Lamar Jackson in the middle with Josh Allen and Sam Darnold all clumped up in there. He had a beautiful touchdown pass, 7-yard pass to the outside. It was just perfect. Receiver made a great play on it, but it was a beautiful pass. But the accuracy is still an issue. He went 7 for 15. I believe it was like 60 something yards. Double check here. Yep. Well, no, 7 for 15, 49 yards. Okay, so that's a little over 3 yards per attempt. You don't want that, and that's part of the accuracy issue. And it's okay as a rookie, as opposed to making a bad throw, he's able to tuck it in and run. So I would advise that, especially at this point, pick and choose. You don't want him taking too many hits, but that's his style of play. He's got to be outside the pocket. He's got to run for first downs, and that's going to help out his accuracy. The reason why I say that is because once these defenders start respecting his running style, things are going to open up because there's going to be the safeties, the linebackers, they're going to be playing that zone because they're going to be doing that. They're going to be watching the quarterback, that safety zone type of defense, and making sure the quarterback don't get out the pocket. That's going to open up things for the tight end and the running back. So that's going to help out Lamar Jackson in the long run, but he still needs to work out his accuracy, a little bit better decision making. Didn't throw a pick, so that's on the plus side, I guess. But I still put him in the middle of the pack. I still got Baker Mayfield at 2, and then I have Josh Rosen at number 1. And that's the outlook for the rookie quarterbacks this year thus far. Again, it's only 2 preseason games. Lamar Jackson's been in 3, but we're halfway through the preseason. This third week, it's going to be interesting to see how much play these rookie quarterbacks get. You expect Josh Allen to get a lot of play, especially since A.J. McCarron is out. Josh Rosen, I expect him to get at least a quarter and a half. Baker Mayfield, also about a quarter and a half, because the starters on the team, Sam Bradford and Tyrod Taylor for the respective teams, Cardinals and Browns, they're the starters on the team, so they're going to get the first half, the heavy load of the time playing at quarterback in the first half. Maybe bleed into the third quarter and see where they go. It all depends how they're playing and how their respective coaches feel, how they're coming along, and if they got enough work done. But they'll be in there at least a half. Both Sam Bradford, which I believe, they can prove me wrong and pull them after a quarter and a half if these guys go down there and 3 touchdown drives. Like, that's all you guys see. So that's going to be interesting to see with those guys. And then you look at Sam Darnold. You got Teddy Bridgewater there. You got Josh McCown. This is the 3rd game of the season. This is where you want to put your starting quarterback in. So I think it's going to be important for the Jets to make the right decision to see who starts the game and who gets the most playing time, because usually the guy that plays the most this game is going to start week 1. So look out for that. Look out for that Jets game. See who's actually getting the start and who gets the grunt load of the playing. I guess, what am I trying to say? the heavy load. Who's going to get more playing time out of those 3 quarterbacks, because it's a toss up right now. I can't tell you who the starter's going to be. I think it should be Teddy Bridgewater, and I'm speaking of the Jets. But, man, it could be Sam Darnold. It can be Josh McCown. Either way they cut it, if they go Josh McCown or Sam Darnold, not going to win too many games. Josh McCown's going to, he's going to be a little bit better than Sam Darnold. But to me, Teddy Bridgewater is their best option if they actually want to be competitive in a lot of these games. And, in that division, they're going to be competitive against the Jets and the Dolphins, the Bills and the Dolphins, but not against the Patriots. Lucky Patriots got that division on lock. They've had that division on lock. And then, I'm missing a quarterback. Lamar Jackson. He's not going to get too much playing time. He might get a quarter. Joe Flacco's going to get the heavy load. That's what I'm trying to say. He's going to get the most playing time. Joe Flacco will get the most playing time for the Ravens. And speaking of Joe Flacco, I spoke on this last week. I was talking about how I believe the Joe Flacco to John Brown combination is going to look pretty good this year. Look out for that. Last night, they combined for a touchdown. I'm giving y'all some information. Joe Flacco to John Brown, the former Arizona Cardinal wide receiver who, he was hurt a lot. But when he was playing, he would play. He was a pretty good receiver. He always overshadowed by Larry Fitzgerald and his injuries. So you have to wonder now if he's healthy, is he going to be that number one for Joe Flacco? And so far, it's looking like that. And that's what I was projecting. That Joe Flacco and John Brown combination was going to work out. Remains to be seen. We'll see what happens here. Week 3 of the preseason. Going to get more into that as the week goes on, because this is the week where you can kind of get an idea of what your team's going to look like early on. Obviously, the first 2 to 3 weeks of the NFL season, don't read too much into it. Hopefully your teams win, but to say that you know who your team is after 3 weeks, tell me about it. Like Denver Broncos, they started off 3-1. They look like world beaters after they demolished the Dallas Cowboys, after they beat the Raiders, after they beat the Chargers. It was looking like then they played that Sunday night game at home to the lowly New York Giants, who didn't have no receivers whatsoever. It's supposed to be an easy win for the Broncos, and they got demolished that game. And the final score was like 23-13 or 20. It was like a 10-point game, but it wasn't even that close. That was a horrible game. The Giants just did whatever they wanted. They controlled that game, and the Broncos proceeded to lose 8 out of 9. They just fell off from there. So you're not going to be able to tell who your team is the first 2 or 3 weeks of the season if you're a fringe team. When I say fringe team, a team that you don't know exactly what you have, I'm talking about teams like the Cowboys. I'm talking about teams like the Broncos, the Titans, the Cardinals, teams like that they can go either way. But if we're talking about teams like the Philadelphia Eagles, the New England Patriots, the Steelers, if those teams start off 3-0, then that's because they're good. You already know that. You don't have to guess and see, well, is it a fluke or not? And those teams are going to be there at the end of the season. So depending on who your team is, don't read too much into your 3-0 or your 2-1 record after 3 weeks of the season. But week 3 to preseason, get a good idea of what you're going to see at the beginning of the season. And you want to see these players get first downs if you're on offense. Drive down the field. If you're out there for 3 or 4 series, hopefully you get 3 scores on the board and not just field goals. And if it's your starting defense, you want 3 and outs. You want turnovers. So this is the funnest week to look at your team and kind of break down what your team's going to look like. But again, don't read too much into the beginning of the season if your team's a fringe playoff team or just a bad team, So, and for those teams that are actually really good, if you start off 1-2, it doesn't mean anything. Ask the Patriots. They've started off 2-2 the last 2 out of the 3 last seasons. 2 of the 3 seasons. So, man, I'm just everywhere with my words today, man. I can't talk. I don't know what it is, but I'm just mixing up my words, but it's all good. Thank you for joining me on a Fast Break Sports Hour. I know who's watching me. What's up? Live here on YouTube. And again, for the love of sports, that's what we do here. Let's get into, man, I got to do this first. Because every time we get into power rankings get more hyped when you got a little bit of music going on. And that's what we're going to do here. Not too much news on the football side because it's a Tuesday. We're getting ready for week 3 of the preseason. But let's get a little bit of music going into my power rankings, fast breaks, preseason power rankings. We are now at number 12, and we will fall down to number 9 going into our top 8. Man, y'all want to know who's in the top 8. Y'all want to see who's in the top 12. So here we go. Let me get some music going. Let me get back to the, that was Roman Reigns' thing. I do WWE music. I love that. It gives you that good energy, man. It just makes you want to throw stuff around. But let's get that theme going here so we can break down these teams in these 4 spots for the power rankings. And I almost got to go pick up my son. So keeping it real. All right. So starting at number 12, I was speaking about this team earlier. The Los Angeles Chargers, Phillip Rivers, Melvin Gordon. Watch out for Mike Williams. Obviously, you got Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen's going to be a top receiver. But watch out for Mike Williams. Now, they have a setback with Hunter Henry. He was a promising young tight end who's going to be out for the season. He actually got hurt real early in the camp. And the defense is still, man, that defense is still full force on the edges when you talk about Joey Bosa and Melvin Ingram. Those guys are just, ask Trevor Siemian about those two guys. Man, they'll be up in your grill if you're the opposing quarterback. And they picked up Darwin James in the draft. And they got Casey Hayward, a very underrated cornerback, who to me is a top 8 to 10 cornerback in the NFL. The LA Chargers, I believe they're a playoff team this year. I believe they're going to fight for that AFC West crown, and they're going to make some noise. Super Bowl remains to be seen. That was my prediction. I have them in the Super Bowl. Some of y'all think I'm crazy. I'm not a LA Charger fan. I'm just keeping it real. I'm a Bronco fan. I'm a LA Dodger fan, though. But Phillip Rivers, is this his year? I see big things for Phillip Rivers. I think it's time for him to take that final step into the Super Bowl and see what he can get done. Chargers at number 12. Yes, and you guys are like, well, if he's in the Super Bowl, why number 12? I can't start them too high. I can't put them at 5. They didn't make the playoffs. You know what I'm saying? So this year, I expect them to get to the playoffs, possibly win the division, and make some noise and get to the Super Bowl. So LA Chargers, San Diego Chargers, San Diego Superchargers, You can't even sing that song no more. Y'all done messed that up. You can't say Los Angeles Superchargers. That don't work, man. That don't work. Y'all messed that up. Y'all got to move them back to San Diego. LA Chargers, number 12 on my power rankings. Number 11, Minnesota Vikings. Defense is still stout. Is there going to be a learning curve with Kirk Cousins now as the starting quarterback? 3 years, $90 million, all guaranteed. First time ever. And yes, it's a shorter contract, but $90 million is $90 million, and it's all guaranteed. Dalvin Cook coming back. He was looking good the first 5 weeks of the season last year before he got hurt. You're looking at Dalvin Cook. You're looking at, obviously, the combination of Kirk Cousins and Stephon Diggs. I think that's going to be a big combination. And you got Adam Thielen there and Kyle Rudolph. So you got weapons. So with all that being said, they're number 11. But here's the thing. I put them at 11 because they were in the playoffs last year and they made it to the NFC Championship game. So I got to keep them somewhat high. But I don't expect them to make the playoffs. That's my opinion. We'll see how it goes. Let's get to number 10. Number 10, the Atlanta Falcons. Matt Ryan. What else can you say? Consistent. Now, if you're Jalen Ramsey, you think Matt Ryan is overrated. You think he's no good. He's a system quarterback. Well, we'll see again this year. You got Julio Jones. They drafted Calvin Ridley, who's looking pretty good so far in the preseason. They got those 2 running backs, Tevin Coleman, Devontae Freeman. So they're a team that's always in that playoff hunt. Last year, they weren't able to beat out the Philadelphia Eagles in that divisional round. So after losing that Super Bowl to the Patriots, they didn't have the Super Bowl hangover. They still got back to the playoffs. But again, they made the playoffs. I have them at number 10, but I don't have them making the playoffs. Man, that's crazy, right? But hey, I got to start them there. And once they start to dwindle, then I start dropping them. But it's a tough division just because of that. You know, had they not been in the division with the Saints and the Panthers, then I'd be thinking about putting them in the playoffs. But I don't have them in the playoffs. Too much competition. But the Falcons are number 10 on my list. Number 9, speaking of competition in their division, Carolina Panthers, number 9. They got some quiet weapons, man. Curtis Samuel coming off his rookie season. Christian McCaffrey coming off his rookie season. Not going to say much there, but man, I'm thinking last year was just a little rookie thing. And, you know, he caught a lot of passes last year. He still produced 7 touchdowns. I'm thinking he's going to not double that, but I think all of his stats are going to improve. He might catch a little less, but he's going to have more yards rushing and slightly more touchdowns. I think Christian McCaffrey as a number 1 is going to make a big difference for this Carolina Panthers team. You looking at DJ Moore, the rookie wide receiver, got into a little trouble recently, getting a ticket for speeding, went like 103. What are you thinking, man? You in the NFL, don't make dumb decisions. You're rich, play your ass off, go out there and make plays. That's what you're supposed to do. But they got weapons. They still got Devin Funchess and Greg Olsen, man. Greg Olsen, top 3 to 5 tight end, fantasy watch. If he's healthy, pick him up. Greg Olsen, Cam Newton, that's a sure thing. They still got Thomas Davis, Luke Kuechly, and that man running that linebacking core. Number 9 ranking. But here's another shocker. Another shocker. I don't have them making the playoffs either. But again, hey, they were in the playoffs last year, so I got to put them in a good spot and slowly bring them down once they start falling out. And I'll let you know who my top 8 are for the power rankings next time we're on the show. Thank you for joining me. The Fast Break Sports Hour should be back on tomorrow. If not, definitely Thursday. Thank you for joining me again. I appreciate y'all. Love sports. Love yourself. Do what you want with your life. Stay positive. Let's go, Dodgers. Let's get this victory. I'm out.